what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women.
Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Women Behind the Millions, our season dedicated to Beyond the Broker. So for women who want independence in the financial industry, but so much of it applies if you are, whether it's in a toxic corporate job, a relationship, right? All of that underlining the mindset, the emotions, the fears, all of that is still very prevalent and will relate to you. So thank you for tuning in tonight, our money queens, our ladies. Thank you for being a part of our journey here on Women Behind the Millions. We just keep growing and growing and growing. Well, tonight we're talking about the Achilles heel for female CEOs, hiring. I swear, we are so reluctant to hire. It's overwhelming. We probably are beyond capacity by the time we realize I need to hire somebody. And then I have to put the job description together. I need to interview. I need to trust I'm going to hire the right candidate because then I have to take time to train them. And I already don't have time. I don't have time to do any of that. So we put on the back burner. But it is the biggest reason why we're not growing. Our books are not growing. We're not hiring, or we're not hiring the right people, getting the right people in the right spot as well for it. Now I'm trying to think back to 2020, we were going through a huge transition at the firm and I was so overwhelmed. Oh, I woke up in just fear and dread every single morning in this panic of what is going to go wrong today, and not really having a ton of support from the back office with it. And this happened over and over again for several months through that transition, because I know how hard a transition is in any career, and especially when it's your business, your baby. I remember I woke up one morning and I was talking to God. I was like, you know what? Everything's happening to me, right? I need to change this narrative. And I need to take back some control over what's going on. And the first way I did that was by hiring somebody. And once I made that decision, I'm going to hire, I could feel the weight just kind of fall from me. Like, I don't have to do this alone. Or as Helen Keller says, right, we can do so little alone, but together we can do so much. And that is so true. And I constantly have my team have a list next to them as they're working of things that they could delegate. And that delegation list becomes the next job description. So I encourage them all to get very clear on what is it that they love to do and to lean in there. What is it that is really leaking energy, right? They get frustrated. It takes them a long time. It doesn't give them energy back. Those are probably things that we can offload and delegate. So it saves us that extra step of creating the job description. We already have it. And then we partner with people like our guest tonight to fill that role. And she's helped bring amazing people to our team, along with hundreds of different financial firms as well. We currently are doing traction work, which is incredible if you are a business owner. And I just want to read, Gino Wickman said, "Life is much easier for everyone when you have people around you who genuinely get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it." And that is so true, right? Getting the right people who are aligned with your values of your company, the morals, has integrity. As we talk about integrity and follow through and initiative is huge. And I'm also curious to talk with our guest tonight on how different the workplace has gone from that traditional make and model to virtual, now probably more hybrid. Even seems like the working hours are less. There's more like work-life balance and really interesting benefits too that companies are coming up with to incentivize their employees, their team members as well. So enough about me. Let's talk about tonight's guest. We have with us Lori Miller. She's a hiring consultant with over 20 years of experience, combined with leadership and various recruiting experience. She currently enjoys helping independent financial advisors connect with top talent for their wealth management businesses. Recruitment strategies, identify and acquiring talent, client relationships, and staffing plans. So it's not just getting the right people in there, it's keeping them. Another thing we're going to talk about, the great resignation. So let's bring Lori Miller onto the stage. Hello, Lori. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here and excited to be on your show.
Thank you so much for being here. And she's one of our featured authors in our newest book, Beyond the Broker, at Pink Fix Productions. And I knew I wanted to have Lori be part of this project because one, she's been amazing at helping us here at the Wealth Boutique grow, build our staff, and then ongoing maintenance as well for things too. And just an amazing person to get on the phone, talk to her, go through some things, talk it out, strategize around it as well. So, Lori, what has it been like to be part of the book Beyond the Broker?
It has been an amazing experience being able to share my experiences and knowledge with others to help them. I am so passionate about what I do, and working, in this field, I get to see and meet a lot of these advisors, people that I've put at their firms. I get to see the success stories, see where their goals are, where they want to grow. I do a lot of consulting and finding, sometimes people don't even know if, when, who they need to hire. So a lot of those conversations are so important and so intimate, getting to know the individual firms, the advisors, their cultures, and then helping them figure out who is the right person to hire, when, and then how to do so if need be at that point. So
what got you into this work, Lori? You've had over 20 years of experience with leadership and recruitment. Where did it all begin?
I've always I loved helping people, working with people. I am 100% extrovert. Obviously, I like to talk as a recruiter. I really started out in college. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I had started out up north, and I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to work in education. And I always wanted to educate people and have the passion to share knowledge. And then I ended up doing an internship at college with a charity, and they were looking for people to recruit. And I came in there as an intern and watched the recruiter recruiting people to this charity organization. And I just fell in love with recruiting, and finished off my major going into actually communications and marketing, and ended up going right into educational recruitment out of college and started there, and have transitioned into a sales and recruiter leader for years, a hiring manager for 13 years. And then also, now the last 5 years, I specialize in wealth management with financial advisors, helping them grow and build their firms and consulting with them.
Interesting. So you started on the nonprofit side of things. It clicked right away, huh, Lori?
Yeah, it did. Nonprofit to for-profit to now to wealth management. So it's been a journey. This is by far my favorite industry to be in. I love helping women and other advisors, grow their businesses and educate more people on financial services.
Sure. And in your chapter, you give a great story of your daughter who seems very athletic, very competitive, soccer and basketball, and you compare a firm with that sports team mentality as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I could go on and on about, recruiting. And I think there's a lot of tools out there, and we can talk further about this, about how to attract talent. I think what's important is getting that talent, growing that talent. What kind of coach are you going to be? What kind of leader are you going to be? And I reference sports in the fact that those team dynamics and coaches, the trainings, the onboardings, keeping the right team, growing your team is so important to the success of our independent advisors.
Yes, I like that you make it. It's not that boss mentality. It's the coaching. It's the leadership, and I think that helps women. I don't ever consider our staff or employees. I always reference them as the team, right?
Yeah,
because we were all building this together to help women. So I love that analogy between the sports. And I said this on the show before. I strongly in sports, it's very rare opportunities, but within sports, women, young girls get that ability to be a leader. You don't get a lot of chances like that. Maybe Girl Scouts and things like that, but it's not a lot. So it's no wonder that there's not a lot of women in the C-suite, and it's actually on decline for it too. So I think the more women we can get girls into different internships and sports and opportunities, clubs where they can wear that leadership hat throughout it to see how is it that they want to lead. Do you do that kind of work with the people that you're recruiting for them to take that step back and say, how do I want to hire, onboard, welcome people? How do I want to do performance reviews with our staff and our team members, and figure out how do I want to discipline the structure, all of that?
Yes, I think there's a fine line between, we're getting way down the road to HR and not. But for what I do, about 50% of consulting work, 50% of actually hiring and recruiting with my staff to help the advisors. Consulting is my absolute favorite. I can recruit all day long. I love the consulting piece because so many times financial advisors are so good at what they do, and they need to have the time to do that. Everything else needs to be delegated, given to others so they can spend time doing what they truly love and what they're good at. So a lot of that consulting is finding out who they need. And then once we have this talent, we've found great talent, how do we onboard them? You have to have an onboarding plan. So many times people just want that perfect person to come and start working right away. But it starts at day one. Coaching and mentoring staff starts at day one, and how they're onboarded, making sure clients or staff members are getting set up for success. If somebody calls me and says, it's been 30 days, this is happening, and I say, well, what have you talked about? Have you had some performance coaching? What types of conversations are you having? And sometimes the answer is I haven't, right? So it's really educating business owners on how to have those open conversations with staff members, to really get to know our staff members and manage people by individuals, and to helping them grow and in turn helping you grow. So I have a lot of those great, helpful conversations with business owners every day.
Yes. We recently got the privilege to see Cara Lawson, who is a Duke women's basketball coach. We're trying to get her on the show as well. We sent her a bunch of our financial trendsetters books for her team. She was so incredible. And she talks about communication. And you just brought that up too, right? These things are happening. Well, what has been communicated with that new hire as well? And the disconnect, right? There's a block in that communication. I've noticed that with myself, right? If I'm frustrated, right? I'm an introvert. So if I'm stressed or frustrated, I'm going to go inside and be very quiet until you hit that kind of that breaking point as well. But understanding what is that a healthy communication style between you and your staff, especially a new hire who is already probably insecure, trying to learn the ropes as well too. Lori, what is usually that first hire for a financial firm, would you say?
Yeah, usually the first hire for a firm is they're either client service person, a support person, or some type of executive assistant that crosses into client services. But it's always someone to help them with that paperwork, with the appointment retention, with the organizing. It's such an important role, and really, somebody's sidekick and everything that they're doing. Once, especially, I see people that are looking for their first support person. It's not really another advisor right away. It's always that person to get them where they need to be, and then they can start bringing on another advisor. Always a fantastic, detail-oriented, organized support person, 100%.
They love a to-do list, right? They get excited by checking things off. Yes. Yes. As you said, they're very thorough. The follow-up.
Absolutely.
A huge part.
The calendaring, once the advisor starts getting busy, keeping them in check, which just allows, again, them less stress and them more time to do what they do best.
What is the onboarding time frame would you usually get by a new hire? Like 3 months, 6 months, we're going to see how the technology, is it sticking with them, or is it just falling flat on all fronts?
It completely depends on the position.
Okay.
Your next advisor might need to mentor you for a year,
Mhm.
a support person that can come in, a marketing person, an operations person, anybody like that. I always say we'd like to give them a 60 to 90-day period of just onboarding, getting used to technology, growth. And that is all going to be driven by the business owner and having that plan in place. Like I said, making sure technology is already set up and we have a week to week type plan. There are so many good resources out there to help people with onboarding plans on what to do next and when. So much of the technology side has their own trainings through those companies that they can get trained on too. They can get help through other vendors or groups that they're working with. It doesn't all have to, be on the business owner.
Yes. Would you say the first hire is the hardest, like to pull the trigger for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's always a scary thing. And, am I ready? What does that look like? Can I afford this person? Those are all great questions and things that we talk through on each and every intake call. And they're so important to be ready. Because the last thing you want to do is hire somebody full time. You don't have enough work for them. We don't want to, or part time, or we take somebody from an opportunity to have them with us and we weren't ready for them. We never want to pull somebody out of their current position unless we are 100% sure that this person is ready for us and they're ready to grow with us and we're all on the same page.
Yes. Oh, that's a great point. To being selfish in the hire, but thinking it through long term. I remember hearing this measurement. It was every 300,000 that you earn, hire somebody for 100,000. And I'm asking this for, do you feel in the business plan, the hires should be kind of sectioned out of, right? Year 1, we're going to hire this. Year 3, we're going to add this person. So it's built into the overall plan and budget.
I think so. I think that you should, take a look at that, long term, but it also should be revisited, quarterly. Look at what you have coming in, what you're projected to have come in. All of those things should constantly be reevaluated. And I love working with different compensation plans when you're looking to hire people. I love things where sometimes you don't always have to, especially now, go so aggressive on the salary. If there's different ways to incentivize where you're incentivizing people, Jessica, we just talked about this year-over-year growth bonuses, different things that will help you make hiring affordable as well. And people are feeling a part of something once they have, that they feel like they're contributing and they're getting rewarded for contributing. And
then again,
in my book, in the chapter in the book, we talk a lot about, competitive compensation and what does that look like now? Because like you said in the intro, it looks a lot different than it did 5-10 years ago. Different ways to compensate people.
Yeah, different benefits. Let's talk about that for a second. What are some new innovative ways that people are giving benefits that is in that traditional sense?
Yeah, I love to talk about next gen hiring just because the mindset of next gen is one of my favorite topics. I talk about it a lot. So, understanding when you're in the hiring process and you're interviewing people, what is motivating that person? So, I'm interviewing people daily. I just had a lady say to me, what does this position pay? And I told her the salary range of my client. And she said, I'm willing to take less than that. If they could just let me keep my vacation time that I have accrued with my last company, because time with my children right now is more important than a higher salary. Listening to this mom tell me what was important to her and how she's willing to take less money just to keep her vacation time, that right there tells you it doesn't always have to be digging way into the pockets, going broke trying to hire people, that really getting to know them. Yes, we have to pay competitively. Yes, that is important. But there are other things that you can do. Vacation time. People are willing to take less money if they have a little more flexibility. It doesn't have to be 100% remote. I love hybrid. I am a giant fan of a hybrid work schedule. I think that it is so important to have collaboration, in-person time, but I also see the benefits of having a little flexibility. It makes people happier. Employees want to work harder. They will work harder for you if they're happier and feel like you care about them as people and know it's important to them as well. Another hot thing, wellness, mental health days. People, that is a big thing right now. Giving people some mental health days or something where, hey, we're treating this employee to this, or just a day to they don't have to use PTO twice a year. They can just take a mental health day. That is such a big thing right now that people are looking for their employers to care about their well-being so they can come back the next day stronger, healthier, feeling more confident, and just having a day for mental health.
I like that. I'm writing that one down for myself. Mental health days. Oh, interesting. So hybrid work-life balance seems to be a big push. I was just talking with a woman in sales, and she goes, millennials just set the stage for work-life balance. Or do I'm like, you're right, and it seems right. The 40-hour work week is now more like a 30-hour work week.
Sure.
Or maybe more flexible hours. Can you do 4 10-hour days versus 5 days? Like, can I jam it together and whatnot for it as well? Oh, very interesting. What are some of the mistakes for a first-time hire or nightmares?
There can be many, but some of the larger mistakes that I see are when looking for a first-time hire is to be open-minded and be current. Okay. So a lot of times, people say, well, that's not how it was when I was looking for my first job. It is not how it was, I guarantee, when you were looking for your first job, right? So a couple of things. People say, I need this person to have X, Y, and Z. They're not willing to look at the person. They're only looking at skill sets and education. I am 100% about those things are very important. Hire the person. Hire that person that you can tell is a go-getter, is hungry, is passionate. And because sometimes you can overlook, or they don't have, they don't have red tail experience. Those are things that can be taught. But you have a person right here in front of you that is like, I want to grow. I want to do this. Is doing everything we ask them through the process. You can just tell that they are ethical and have great morals, and you can teach and train anybody anything. I'm a big believer on that if it's the right person. And I think that's a big mistake, is just judging people by their resumes, judging people by a LinkedIn profile, and not really talking with the person and giving them a chance to show you who they are.
Yes. And I fall into that, where great resume, right? And it's a great interview, but they really fall flat on a lot of other pieces for it too. And you write about this in the chapter too, right? Even if the resume isn't exactly what you want it to look like, give them a chance to meet.
Absolutely.
And
I know time is precious. That's why as a recruiter, I try not to send people. There has to be something really there. If that are not checking majority of those boxes for me to even send them over to a client. But giving people that opportunity to tell you their story. If you see there's a gap on the resume, there may be a really good reason why. 2020 was a weird year. So there's a lot of gaps in people's employment. Just taking those things in consideration and giving people chances and opportunities. And you will know right away. And I write about that in the book, whether you can tell in the first, we're in the business of reading people. If you're a business owner, you're an advisor, you know how to read people, you're great with them. You probably have sales experience. We know how to read a room, how to read people, and you'll be able to tell, within 30 minutes of the conversation if this is someone you'd like to continue with or not.
Yes. Oh, good. Great insights for this, Lori. How about the interview process? I'm horrible at this. What tools, resources, strategies do you recommend? Because I'm like, I don't even know what to ask you. And you're like, you ask the typical questions, but you're not really getting anywhere. You're not getting the feel for them, how they work, how they integrate with the team. Do they work well with others? Whatnot. What would you recommend there?
Well, I think everyone's process is different. I always recommend maybe if you don't use a recruiter, I always recommend using a recruiter, obviously, to help you. If you don't have the time, the energy, you don't know how, you don't want to. A lot of people don't want to. I'm weird. I love this, right? But not everybody loves it. Use some help. Reach out for help and resources. And there are great, recruiters out there. I would use something like that. Once we get an interview, a phone interview or a Zoom interview, always great for that first, thing for the sake of time, a 30-minute Zoom or a 30-minute. I'm a big fan of Zoom interviews because you can see the person. A lot of times you have this great interview, they come in person and it's really not how you thought, or mannerisms were different. But it's easier to read them over a Zoom. If you like them, definitely bring them in for a face-to-face. If you have a staff, if you have a trusted staff member, I do think it's good to incorporate them sometimes into the meeting if you feel like it's a person that would be appropriate to have them meet. Getting your team's buy-in sometimes can either be a good thing or it can bite you, depending on what that team dynamic looks like. But including the team in the hire, making them feel like they have a say is always good when that person comes to accepting them and helping and with the training process as well. Some people like assessments. Let's talk about that for 1 second. This is always a sticky area. Some people love the DISC assessment. They like different things. I love those tools. I believe in them so much as management tools, more so always than hiring tools. We never want to hire or not hire off of completely looking at someone's assessment. That's a no-no. But they are great things to say for a manager to look at and say, this person likes to be, managed this way. Mm-hmm. This person is going to be, really strong in this area. I can tell that I can put them in charge of these things. There are great tools as far as growth, individual growth, goals for themselves, but it's not always something that I say I would definitely go off of 100% for hiring.
Sure. Now, these assessments, we have personality assessments we're referring to, and then also is it, math kind of?
Yes. So if I know that needs personality, I would not always just go off that because I think that can be screwed. But those are great management tools. But there are great resources out there if you want to make sure someone does know Excel. There are some good tests to give people if you want to incorporate that as part of your hiring strategy. Absolutely. Always recommend a background check, of course. And a lot of people, if you're working with a broker dealer, they will have you do that anyway. And if not, a lot of services will provide that. You can at least do a background check and always check broker check if they're a licensed rep as well.
Okay. All right. So good. So many courses to keep going. For two, how about figuring out how much a job salary goes for?
Yeah.
What research do you do? I know you help advisors or CEOs figure out, right, this is a range because it's also based on your area. I'm in New Jersey, so it's usually more expensive in certain metropolitan areas. What would you say?
So that is one of the biggest trends that has been happening and continues to be is salary transparency. Gone are the days where we used to, not talk about salary. It was kind of taboo. Now there are actual many states that the law has passed the Salary Transparency Act where you have to display the salary for posting a job and be transparent with that. That's a state-by-state thing. There are tons of good resources to find out what the average person is making for a certain role, for a certain position. For example, if I'm going to hire a client services person and I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, you can use anything from Glassdoor is a fantastic, source to look at. You can even use Indeed. LinkedIn has sources. You can Google a lot of times and see different things coming up. What is the average salary of a client services person in Charlotte? Mm-hmm. Now, here's the kicker. It's going to come in and provide all types of different ranges of what people are reporting and what they're making. But this is what I tell business owners, and I also tell candidates, because they can look and see, I think I should be making this much, right? And you can have somebody working for you that comes to you and says, hey, I just did some research on Glassdoor. I should be making $10,000 more. But things to think about. It doesn't separate people that are licensed. Sometimes client services people have a license. Well, they're making more than the person that just, came out of college that's been doing it for 2 years. So it's not showing you all the experience and the different license that you can be getting, different job responsibilities, but you can see an average salary range to see if you are being competitive. If you're trying to pay somebody $50,000 and you're seeing that the average salary range is 70, then either try to come up with a base plus variable piece that would be comparative to that if you're not comfortable with the base salary, but in a range where someone is going to be making what you see out there as competitive. And that's not just for hiring, that's also for retaining your own people. You don't want recruiters like me calling your firms, recruiting people out to go to different firms because they can make $10,000 more here and now they get a hybrid work, right? So knowing these things, understanding what's competitive in your area, in your market is so important. Finding out what competitors, are paying their client services people. That's important too, or what they're paying their advisors. Always know your competition and what they're paying as well.
Sure. Oh, really good information too. And you said that you don't know the tenure. Maybe they've been there for 10 plus years. They help build a company up as well for it too. So looking at, giving perspective to the different ranges for salary.
Absolutely.
And getting very creative with other benefits that you could add in there, finding out what's important to that employee. Is it more family time, vacation time? Is it health benefits, and whatnot as well for it too? How about one more question before we take a break, Laura? This has been so eye-opening. And me just being a CEO, very curious. I'm being thanks for my brain too for it. I like adding the variable piece for a company that's growing.
Yep.
Right. So it's not such a hard cash flow wise, but as everybody grows, they're getting a piece of it too. What would you say on hiring family or friends?
Well, so many of the advisors I work with that when they went independent, that's how they started, right? So you have a lot of, here's a financial advisor, the spouse is the director of ops, the son is the, daughter is the marketing person. And you see that a lot. And for some people, that works extremely well. It does. That's how they build it. And now they're adding people. And sometimes it's tricky trying to add people to come into that because they're so used to functioning in that family dynamic. And they've never hired anybody else out of the family. Who can I trust? What can I do? That can be scary, right? But I always, it's so good to have some other perspectives coming in there sometimes. It's so good to add that outside information as well. I'm not always against it. I think it just depends on the role. It depends on the relationship. I've seen, a lot of people I've done, positions and they'll end up just, my son is interested now. I'm going to train them. My daughter is interested now. We're going to get them licensed. It happens a lot. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And we find someone else. I really just think that is a very personal decision and just knowing the risks and the benefits that can come with hiring family. I had an example recently where, a young guy was working for his uncle and he was looking to transition out just because he just wanted to have something that was his own and not bringing the family into it outside of work. That can always be a tricky thing. And for other people, it works extremely well and they figure out ways to do it. So I think that's a really personal choice.
Yes, I contributed a chapter to Beyond the Broker for the multi-generational family firms as well, and giving some autonomy to the one generation and freedom for them to explore as well with it. So yeah, there's the good and the bad with it. You really have to think through because that relationship is priority, and then that shifts when now they're working with you. And where are they? Is it the relationship first and then business, or is it business first and then relationship? It's a tricky dynamic. Well, this has been incredible. We're going to take a quick break, and then you don't want to miss Laura. There's a few more quick questions. This has been just amazing. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. At the Wealth Boutique, we know there's a different kind of wealth. It's not just about the dollars in your account, but that sense of freedom, confidence, and security that comes with it. We know that money isn't just about the math. It's so deeply intertwined with your emotions, values, aspirations. And it's your time. For too damn long, society has whispered in your ear, planting seeds of shame, guilt, greed, embarrassment around money. But here we say and do something different. We give you permission to be who you are meant to be, to spend where it feels good, and to invest where your heart is. Our female-focused team of advisors understands the unique financial journeys of women, couples, and their families. We're not here to just talk numbers. We're here to help you craft your own financial triumph story, one that reflects your goals and values. We open up our arms at the Wealth Boutique to guide you, be your confidant, your advocate, your ally, whether it's your retirement, financial plan, or estate plan. Let's craft your unique story and get started. All right, we are back with Lori Miller, who is a recruiter at FIG, Financial Independence Group, who supports financial advisory firms all across the country. She's even helped us here at the Wealth Boutique, bringing us our very own Camille Letta, who has been incredible. Well, Lori, next question for you is, what would be your beyond the broker tip? What strategy, what's that thing that you would recommend to all of our female advisors?
Yes. I would recommend that you are adaptable to current recruiting trends, talent trends, adaptable to thinking outside of your own mindset of making sure when you're hiring that how you have diversity, right? That you are looking for hiring the person, that you are adapting to some next gen interest, to be adaptable to what the current competitiveness is, the hybrid, some things that I talked about before. For some people, I see there's a lot of firms now, and a lot that I work with, they do unlimited vacation. Now, let me talk about that for a second, because that can always be sticky. They do that in a way that hiring the right person, you don't have people to take advantage of that. But, I really think some old school mentality is you get 2 weeks vacation. That is it. That's how it is. Being adaptable to these bigger organizations that sometimes smaller businesses lose out on because they can't afford to keep up with some of these trends. Being adaptable in ways, like I said, that maybe you have a female advisor that wants to join you, and she's a mom and she struggles with getting her kids to practice, but that's important to her. So working with his or her schedule, being adaptable to, longer the days of, but we have free pizza Friday. That's not going to attract people anymore, right? That's just not, those mentalities are out, and looking for new creative ways of integrating new technologies, up and adapt to the new technologies of the firm that will attract younger generation and have people to come and work for you. Whatever that would entail, just be adaptable to current recruiting and hiring trends, not only for new hires, but for your own current staff. So you don't lose them, so they stay with you and they love you and they want to work hard for you and be a part of what you're doing.
Oh, that's great. Being adaptable and giving some very innovative ideas on how to do that as well. What would you say, Lori, is your beyond the broker? Oh, we'll go into that too, because a lot of beyond the broker is you're leaving kind of that corporate environment where you are the employee, right? So now you're switching gears and you're putting the CEO hat on. There needs to be like a CEO school for women. Maybe this is a platform for it too, as well. So going from what would you have changed being in that employee role that you want to change for your next employees, and what would you want to keep too, and putting yourself in those shoes to think it through as well. What do you think is the big struggle there when you're going from employee to CEO role?
I think that you are obviously good at what you do, fantastic at what you do, because you've gotten yourself to a point where you either have made so much money or you have the confidence now to know that I can do this on my own and I can make more on my own. And I have this, entrepreneur mindset and having the confidence to do that. But what comes next is you might have never been a manager before. You might have just been a sole contributor. So just because someone is a fantastic sole high producing contributor, it doesn't always mean they're going to be this natural, fantastic leader. And just having the self-awareness that to look for those resources to how do I become that coach, that leader? So I'm bringing people on in the right way, remembering what you loved. Who did you work for? That there's been leaders of mine that I just worked so hard for and I looked up to and they mentored me. And then there were the ones that I lost respect for. And that changes your whole mentality and it changes your heart and your passion of what you're doing every day. And remembering those things when you're bringing your staff on and when you're building your team, that where you came from. And if you don't know how to be a leader, getting those tools, getting that help. There's so many good resources out there, so many good books. We are in a, world with just all of this information to our fingertips and reaching out and finding those things on how to be a leader and how to, build this team and drive your team to the results that you're looking for.
Yes, and there's so many consultants, like even Cami Roberson, who is in the Beyond the Broker, right? The consultant that can step by step what to think about, right? Integrate technology into your team, how to hire, HR. Right? There's all these different components that you have to create yourself, build out yourself, but you have the resources there. All right, amazing. So Lori, what would be your Beyond the Broker trend? What's new that's happening in the space?
I think the newest thing beyond the broker trend, like I said, is just the transparency of everything. When people, not even salary transparency, but transparency of your reputation. Think about, if I am going to think about changing jobs and I'm thinking about coming to this firm or that firm, I can go on to Glassdoor reviews, Google reviews, and I can see what type of reputation your firm has, how you have yourself presented out there. Everything is transparent now. If I'm a young 20-something-year-old and I'm looking to, well, I get this at my job and we're doing this at my job. Well, this person's on a forum and we're talking about, hey, we're all CFPs on this forum. I'm making this, I'm getting this. Everything is transparent now, right? You have access to all of this. And so knowing that, being aware of that, making sure you're staying on top of those things and your reputation. And like I said, being competitive, being adaptable, but also just wise in the ways you're doing so as you're growing your business.
Yes. What about the Great Resignation? Is that over now? Is this still happening?
I think that the job market is still very competitive. I do. I don't think it is what it was when we were going through the Great Resignation, and that was tough. I do think it's a little better, but it's still happening. We then got to a point where now people are having a lot of layoffs again. There's a lot more people looking for employment right now than there were before. But at the same time, the job market is still extremely competitive.
Okay.
People are still getting salaries that they want. People are being forced to pay with how expensive things are right now. They're needing more money. They're looking for more money or looking for more opportunities to earn more money. I think that people know that they can find jobs that are hybrid if they just are struggling with, a strict schedule. I think people now know what's out there and what they can have, and that's just in their face all the time. And I think that being content, being a part of something, having good managers and leaders, feeling that they are, in a place that they're happy and performing, I think is just such a big deal. And people aren't going to leave if they're happy. And sometimes even if they're dangled a lot of things, if they love what they're doing, they're making good money, they have the flexibility they want, it's always that grass is greener, to people. But, if you're watering your grass where they are, and I'm not saying we cater to every single thing that an employee needs, but what I am saying is to be smart about those things, staying competitive and keeping talent, and just knowing that, it still is a competitive market.
Yes. I've been shocked. Some clients, I talk with them 1 month. Yeah, job's fine, everything. And the next month, I got a new job. And they were poached, right?
Poached. Yep.
Very, very competitive out there.
Very competitive still.
Well, amazing tips, Lori. That's incredible. All right. Well, we have Lori Miller with us here. We have one more question for you.
Sure.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
So what I think makes me a woman behind the millions is I am responsible for identifying the most valuable asset of my clients' organizations, and that is their people. Your people are your most valuable asset. Always think that way. I can't say that enough. And
I love that.
when I was my own, manager and I had recruiters under me, I was nothing without them. They were we were bringing in front end revenue, and we had such a good dynamic and a good culture. And your staff is just everything. I've watched good leaders fail, good, smart advisors fail because they had the wrong staff. And I've watched people grow year after year after year because they've added the right staff. And I love being behind these advisors. I get to be a part of their ecosystem of building out, their business. And I'm so proud of that. I think my favorite success stories are when I see the advisors or they call me and they're so thankful for the talent that we found for them. I'm so passionate about that. And I love, love, love those stories. And when people call to thank me for that or send me a card, that they are just thrilled with their team and their hire.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's how we feel. It was such an easy pleasure working with you, Lori, and while we're working with you again, as well, to keep building out too. Because I know, especially when we work-life balance, right? We could keep growing and we don't need to hire, but then it's dipping into my capacity. And I know being a mom of young kids, right? I don't want to interfere. So I'm fine earning less in the growth phase and having an amazing support team to keep us growing so we don't kind of stall out or level out as well. And in your chapter, I love how you said the people are the greatest assets of your company. And you mentioned how the salaries, that is an investment into your company. That's an investment into the growth, your client retention. All of it matters so much, Lori. Well, people need your help, Lori, which a lot of our ladies do. Where can they find you?
Yes. Well, I was the vice president of Talent Solution Financial Independence Group. I help any financial advisor, wealth management firm find talent anywhere from your admin to your CEO and everything between. Lots of client services, other advisors, CFPs, planners, ops, marketing people, support staff. We love to help our clients. You can easily email me at lori@figtalentsolutions.com is the best way to reach out to me or our financial independence group and get a hold of us here at Talent Solutions. We love what we do. We love to help advisors.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori, for spending time with us, for being part of our book, Beyond the Broker, newest book coming first quarter of 2025.
Excited.
Yes, it's going to be incredible. So thank you. And thank you to all of our money queens for watching us here on Women Behind the Millions. We will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. with another episode of our Beyond the Broker season.
Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for having me.
Hey, money queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.